Hello and welcome to SNL. This is the season 3 wrap-ups episodes. This is one of our mini episodes, though this one should be a little longer than the other minis. This is Matt and I individually picking our top 10 sketches of season 3. Overall, in your mind, better year for sketches or worse?
Better year overall.
Me too. And I had a harder time narrowing it to 10.
Yeah, me too.
So much so that I disqualified myself to make it easier. I disqualified the short films. Don't Look Back in Anger, Acid Test, La Dolce Gilda in particular, which I adored all three. I couldn't do it with those in. Tom Schiller's, so they get their own category right now, and all three are tied for first. So yeah, overall, great year in sketches. Really kind of what we remember Saturday Night Live for. Anything jump out in your list before we start talking about it, Matt?
I wouldn't say so. No, not jump out. I think for the sake of procedure, I do want to mention publicly that I bundled together a lot of recurring characters. So I did not. I mean, I don't need to explain further. It's self-evident. I bundled together recurring sketches.
Yeah. So in other words, if there's 3 Conehead sketches that would be on your list, you put them as one.
Yes.
Yeah. And I did the same, but I picked sort of my favorite of those to sort of represent all them sketches. So let's just jump in then. Number 10. Matt, what was your number 10 favorite sketch of season 3?
Nixon's book.
Nice. Now, I'm guessing it's based purely on one line.
One line. It can't be ignored.
Yep.
The simplicity and the timing and the delivery, and I just thought it was it was like the highlight of the season for me. I don't like the Nixon stuff. I don't like the Watergate stuff, but that was a perfect moment in time for me.
So Nixon was asking people to buy his book to actually kick it around because no one wanted to read it. But what did Nixon say?
Even though I did. Yeah, he doesn't care as long as you're buying the book, even though I did write it to be read.
Great line. My number 10, I know you weren't a big fan of On the Night. I just thought it was a tremendous, excellent performance by one person and supported well by the others, was Richard Dreyfuss's sex test. Thought that was really funny, and I think the material was definitely not the norm of what folks were seeing on TV at the time. Thought it got a hilariously great reaction. It was from our second of the Richard Dreyfuss episode. You weren't a fan though, I know that, but I thoroughly enjoyed it.
I don't remember it super well sitting here right now. I remember it perhaps more fondly than I did at the time. Maybe I shouldn't watch it again because maybe if I bring myself back up to speed, I won't like it as much.
It was a Playboy humor type thing.
Oh yeah, I don't like Playboy humor.
Number 9.
My number 9 sketch of the season was Body Floss. I thought Body Floss was brilliant, silly, physical comedy, really the kind of nonsense I'd like to see from my late night comedy show.
It certainly was that. It didn't make my list, but it was a good one. I actually think it was Adrian's least favorite of that night, but it was certainly a hoot and holler. I liked it. My number 9 is Great Moments in Sports, and it's from the O.J. Simpson episode. Garrett plays a young boy in a hospital who asks Babe Ruth to hit a home run for him. The doctor the doctor says he's dying. Or no, it's on the radio. They say a young boy who's dying. Garrett, I'm dying. The young boy turns out to be Hank Aaron. Absolutely loved that sketch top to bottom. We had a half-decent Babe Ruth impression from Belushi, and Garrett really stole the sketch that night. So I really enjoyed that one. Number 8, Matt?
My number 8 is the Festrunk brothers. They really came in as a force in season 3. I don't always like the rapey humor. But I'm not one of those people that's going to hold their feet to the fire. It's the late 70s. Yeah. But it doesn't mean I have to like it either in 2023. But and sometimes, it's not it doesn't win all the time, is I guess what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. But I certainly enjoy them enough. And their banter and especially the physical comedy definitely worthy of a top 10. And I mean, it's a classic for a reason. Though those guys killed it. And I remember Garrett's little spot in it was really good, and the girls had a really good spot in it, and they seemed to just play well with everybody.
And your favorite was the third one, where the girls had said they'd gone to the Statue of Liberty to get birth control, and the guys were sad, and they did the sad walk and all that stuff. Garrett was there as well, so yeah,
sad walk. Yeah.
My number 8 probably would have been higher on a different day, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. It probably should be higher when I look at the list now, but the E. Buzz Miller Art Classics. Titian. Absolutely loved that. Dan and Lorraine, hilarious. I know Daniel watched that one with us, and he didn't like it too much, but you and I were big fans.
Oh, yeah, I really liked that character, and that was a great sketch. Who didn't like it again?
Daniel. Well, he's a young man, and he probably hangs around with about 10 guys who talk exactly like he's about 13. So he's probably sick of the E. Buzz Millers of the world. Your number 7, my friend.
My number 7 was After Love with Chevy Chase and Gilda Radner.
Yep.
I thought that was a awesome adult woman performance from Gilda, which we don't often get to see. Chevy was really funny in it with his constant lying and her just kind of letting him off the hook. And it's nice to see Chevy again. I do think he was a good leading man in his day. And yeah, I just thought it was a very mature sketch. It wasn't like ha funny, but it was one of those ones that I was invested in from start to finish. I really enjoyed it.
My number 7, and I'm going to preface this by saying I've seen this sketch probably more than any other sketch in the history of SNL, except maybe Cowbell, and it's the Irwin Mainway Halloween Consumer Probe with Johnny Human Torch and all that sort of stuff. Just great stuff, and it's only hurt by how often I've seen it, I think, and maybe by how similar it is to the Christmas one. Really enjoy the character and really enjoy the piece. Number 6.
Irwin Mainway's Consumer Probe.
Oh, neat. Okay, cool.
Yeah, how could I not pick that? I love that scumbag. I wouldn't let him near my children in any capacity. But oh my God, I would enjoy his products on the shelf for my own amusement and benefit. You know what? He's the kind of guy. So I went to school in a small town called Antigonish, and they had one of those dollar stores there. Before dollar stores were like the same everywhere, like a Dollarama or Dollar Tree. Towns used to have their own weirdo little dollar stores. And in the toy section of the Antigonish dollar store, there was just a plastic bag with a rough piece of cardboard just stapled to it, and written across the cardboard in neon letters, quote unquote, Indian toys. And inside was a rainbow headdress and a little brown tomahawk.
Yeah.
This is a Mainway product for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. My number 6 was Looks at Books with the Nerds, and that's kind of representing all the nerd sketches as well. Though there were a few nerd sketches I really liked. The Looks at Books one, I really got a kick out of the banter back and forth. Maybe it's because they were on TV and it was so wrong of him to be like noogieing people on TV, and just saying terrible things. But really enjoy the nerds. Really enjoy Looks at Books. So it was a nice marriage of the two for me. What's your number 5, Matt?
Nutrafix.
Yeah.
The meal injection. Jane was a brilliant, vacant, terrifying Stepford wife in that commercial. The concept is terrifying and it's real, and it was played for laughs, and I just thought it was the best commercial parody of the season.
And the best thing about it is how painful it was to take the injection. That's still my favorite part of that. But yeah, Nutrafix, great sketch. Number 5, it's a repeat of one of yours. It's After Love. I just thought that was a really good, like, grown-up sketch. And I enjoyed Pet Peeves as well, which I don't know if it makes your list or not, but the After Love was a good one. And like you said, got to see a grown-up Gilda, and Chevy was perfect Chevy for that one. What's your number 4, Matt?
La Dolce Gilda.
Yeah.
I mean, how could it not be there? It was, again, I've been celebrating this season Gilda's more mature roles, and there was something, I don't know what about the timing with season 4. It's right when I went down that little rabbit hole with her biography and her
Mhm.
documentary. So maybe seeing her in these grown-up roles just broke my heart that extra little bit more to really help them land. That was probably certainly the case here. But my gosh, what a lady.
Yeah, good movie. I took it out, as I said before, poignantly sad. Like, don't look back in anger. We know what's going to happen to these people. My number 4, celebrating Gilda's work as a child in the Looking for Mr. Goodbar playset ad that she did. Do you remember that one with the toys?
I do. She was great. Very
Yeah.
good. She was quite manic in that one. Yes.
She's due to get murdered by a homosexual, and it basically. And again, I said it, I think, on the show. I love when, comedy takes a grown-up film or a grown-up something and makes toys out of it. I think it's hilarious. Like, I always go back to Corky St. Clair and Waiting for Guffman selling remains of the day lunchboxes.
I forgot about that.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, and the funny part is like nowadays where everybody people don't grow up anymore. Like, my father had 0 action figures. It's like this shit is coming out now and it's realistic, it's bizarre.
I get it. I mean, I never grew up. I'm from where I am sitting right here, right now. I can see my Sasha Banks monster truck.
Yeah. What's your number 3?
My number 3, great moments in sports.
Cool. Okay. Yeah, I was surprised. I was hoping it would be on your list because I know you enjoyed it.
Oh my God, I loved it. I remember when it started. I don't know what it was about the setup where I was like, okay. They really lulled me into it though. But holy shit, Garrett proved to me that he can carry a sketch with comedy. You don't got to sing. You don't got to play to a stereotype. He was just so funny listening to that game and reacting to it. And that was really good comedy. I like that stuff.
And I think that's one of Garrett's favorite things that he did too. My number 3 was Mr. Death. Christopher Lee, Lorraine Newman. Not particularly funny, but really well done and really, really, really like kind of sweet for Saturday Night Live. Although I am seeing back then they did go for the sweetness. But yeah, that was a highlight of the night for me and definitely a highlight of the season.
Yeah, it didn't make my list, but I remember liking it, despite the fact that I don't really like going for the sweetness on a late night comedy show. But I mean, they'll stop, and it was fine here.
Number 2, Matt.
My number 2 was Coneheads. As I mentioned, I've been bundling. I bundle these. If you need me to pick one, I guess I'd pick the one where Bill Murray came over. That was one, right? That was this season.
He was in a couple, yeah. You got the Halloween one.
Halloween one, yeah, that was it. And the Family Feud one was funny too. I just really like those 3. There's nothing that those 3 have done in these characters that I haven't laughed at yet.
My number 2 is also Coneheads, but I went with the Family Feud one. Could have been the Halloween one, which I also adore. But the Family Feud one was just Steve Martin's family were all obsessed with romaine lettuce. There was just enough extra weird coming from those guys to really make it the perfect sketch for me, but not perfect enough to be number 1. Matt, what's your number 1?
My number 1 is King Tut.
Wow. Okay, cool.
I thought that was so good, so catchy. Steve Martin pulling the faces, doing his little Egyptian dance. The set was brilliant. The song was, as I already said, catchy, clever, historically accurate. I have seen
within reason. There was a
within
blend.
Reason. Steve Martin as King Tut, within reason. But and it's probably one of the first sketches I've ever seen. That's one I've probably seen almost as much as any sketch, certainly at least in my more developmental years. I I admit that when we started this whole thing, I was waiting around for it. It
Mhm.
didn't disappoint when it showed up out of the blue, and I really just think it's a perfect sketch. I loved it.
Mine is actually from the same episode, which is cool. It's Theodoric of York, Medieval Barber. There was just so much going on in that one. There was a live bird. There was people getting bled and leeches, and Bill Murray hung upside down. What's
I'm
that?
sorry, I got excited. I didn't mean to cut you off. That's the one where he kept recommending leeches.
Yeah, yeah, and bleedings. Yeah. Um,
Oh my God, I forgot about that. Another bleeding.
I really think there's not many sketches that are perfect in writing, execution, set, especially on a show like this where they're very limited in time. But that one, you couldn't have done it better if you had 10 times the budget and pre-recorded it. And like even the bird fuck up was stellar. I mean, it made it even better. This one gets a lot of love, and I think it's reason it deserves it. Tom Davis wrote this one, and just a fantastic sketch.
I totally forgot about it. I would definitely would have made my list had I remembered.
I forgot about
I
Nutrafix.
I
So
like it more than Body Floss, and I like it probably more than the Festrunk Brothers sketches. So.
well, we'll put an asterisk on that one, or an asterisk on that one, and same with my Don't Look Back in Anger acid test, the acid test one, sorry, not acid test, Acid Generation, that movie with the old people in Florida who were said to be, yeah. Theodoric, King Tut, same episode. I left King Tut off, but just barely. So at the end of the night, we pick our favorite sketch, and we have some sketches here that all three, myself, you, and our third chair, picked as our favorite sketch. I call them streak sketches, but I don't know if that's the right word to use.
I like it.
Would you like to know the sketches from season 3 that were our favorites?
Oh, of course. How many?
There are 5.
Cool. Okay.
So first off is the Franken and Davis beauty pageant.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Didn't make our list, and the reason it didn't make my list, and I hate saying this, is when I rewatched it, it's about 10 minutes long. It's a long ass sketch, and though it is great in its own way, it could use some cutting, I think, on second watch, but first time through, I loved it. Second one made my list, not yours, but kind of made yours. It's the Coneheads Family Feud. We all
I like I said, I bundled some of the jokes run together in my head at this point. So I'm on board with that.
Yeah. Another one made your list was After Love. Made my list as well. After Love with Gilda and Chevy in the bed.
So I mean, you put it best. It's just such an adult sketch on what is not always the most mature show.
Another one made my list was Mr. Death with Christopher Lee and Lorraine. And then the last one, it wasn't going to make my top 10 anyway. I think it was a weaker night, I think, was The Seagull, where Michael Palin was in a production of The Seagull and he had to get out of the bag within 10 minutes or whatever it was.
Oh, yeah. That was pretty funny. I didn't love that Michael Palin episode.
No.
But I do remember that sketch. That was funny.
And conversely, I've done the opposite. The sketches that on the night the three of us thought was the worst sketch. And there's only 2 of those this year. The first one was a Samurai Dry Cleaner. That was from the Charles Grodin episode. It's when it was Samurai, and then Charles Grodin broke the 4th wall. And he did it better later in the show with the bees. So, and we're not fans of the Samurai anyway.
Only Buck Henry should be with the Samurai, and that's only if they insist on their 70s cocaine reasons for continuing to use him.
The other one might have been the worst sketch all year. Well, there was another one I hated just as much. This was Mike McMack, defense lawyer. Steve Martin, first episode. There was a lot of rape jokes. Do you remember that one?
A lot of rape jokes.
Yeah. And that sketch is actually, there's even recent bloggers who have talked about how great that sketch was. I didn't dig it. The other one I didn't like was Celebrity Crack Up, where it was all about celebrities that were dealing with mental illness. But I will say that the good this season extremely, extremely outweighed the bad, I think, as far as sketches are concerned.
Oh, I agree completely. Yeah. There was definitely less super duds this season.
Mm-hmm. So I'm hoping next year is the same and we get some good stuff. Although I do know you mentioned it in another recording that we have seen a lot of the classic stuff. Season 4 and 5 are more sort of dark territory for me, uncharted waters, as opposed to 1, 2, and 3, which I know I've seen many times over the years.
I'm excited. I want to find out what happens.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. So that's it for our top 10. I'll just give it back to you now. My 10 going from top to bottom, going from 1 to 10, is Theodoric of Yorick, Coneheads, Mr. Death, Looking for Mr. Goodbar playset, After Love, Looks at Books, Consumer Probe, E-Buzz Miller's Art Classics, Great Moments in Sports, Sex Test, and then my asterisk is that I didn't consider the Tom Schiller films because it would have taken up my whole list, or a big chunk of my list. Matt's top 10 are King Tut, Coneheads Halloween, or Coneheads in total, Great Moments in Sports, La Dolce Gilda, Nutrafix, Consumer Probe, After Love, Fest Drunk Brothers, I never say it right, Body Floss, Nixon's Book, and Matt's asterisk says that he forgot about Theodoric of York. But that's our top 10 of the year. Did we miss anything? Were we too nice to something? We usually are not too nice to something when it comes to this list. But Matt, hopefully we can get 10 out of season 4.
No doubt. I'm ready. I mean, I'll find 10 in anything. I say that now, but in 1983, I might sing a different tune.
In 1980, you might, but you're going to love the music. That's it for Matt and I on season 3. We're off to season 4 soon. We're doing a couple movie reviews. We've got a few more mini episodes out about season 3. We've also got our third chairs looking back on season 1, a Gary Weiss episode. There's a bit going on after a little bit of a break for us, Matt.
Yeah, it's great. I love the activity. It keeps my existential demons at bay.
So, we've got a bit to go before season 4. Best thing to do, like, subscribe, notification bell could be turned on as well. And just let us know what you're thinking of these lists. So on behalf of Matt, this is Keith. See you soon in SNL.